Hello everyone, welcome to the Financial Information Channel. My name is Marvin. In this video I'm going to give you my top 5 investing books and I'm going to explain why those books were selected. And I'm going to mention that education and knowledge is very important when it comes to investing and personal finance. And the number one thing that every new investor needs to do before investing into a stock is to pick a book so they can get more knowledge about investing. I know that it's very boring to read a book instead of investing, however it pays off in the long term. And before we begin the video, I'm gonna leave links in the video description so you can find the books in Amazon. Now let's begin with the video. And the first book that I'm going to mention in this video is the name of the book called The Little Book of Common Sense Investing. The book is by John C. Bogle and this should be the first book that new investors should read. And basically the book goes into detail about passive investor, and you gotta keep in mind that John C. Bogle invented index funds. He started a company called Vanguard, and Vanguard is one of the best companies when it comes to investing. And what you will learn in this book is about the passive investments, about the low cost funds called index funds, and he goes into detail about value investing, which is very important. This is a really easy to read book, and I would suggest if you're a new investor to read this book. And it is not one of those books that is gonna overwhelm you at the beginning. And I'm going to go more into detail about index funds in a future video. Now let's go to the next book. And the next book is gonna be called The Intelligent Investor. Now this book is by Benjamin Graham, and he was one of the teachers that taught Warren Buffett about investing. And as you know, Warren Buffett is known to be the greatest modern investor. Warren Buffett gave a lot of credit to this book. In addition, he gave a lot of credit to Benjamin Graham about the investing principles. This book is gonna teach you a lot about asset allocation, inflation, diversification, dividends, and of course Graham's famous margin of safety. Now this is a very data-driven book, so I would suggest to read the first book first and then read this book. Now this is not to say that this is a bad book. Actually, The Intelligent Investor is the best book that I'm going to mention in this video. The thing about this book is that it's not easy to read when you're a new investor, but that is okay because you will learn a lot once you become familiar in the stock market. And now for the next book, it's called One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. Now I'm going to give you some background on Peter Lynch. He was the famous fund manager of the Magellan Fund. That fund gave a ridiculous 29.2% annual return. It beat the stock market by around 13% for over a decade. And in this book he goes into detail how an average person can beat the pros in the stock market. He goes on to this theory that basically the first thing that you need to do when you are investing is that you become familiar with the stock. And then you become an expert. And expert and familiar are two different things. For example, let's say that you want to invest into Facebook and you know how the business works as a user. However, becoming an expert requires a little bit more steps, basically reading the fundamentals, the income, the balance sheet, the cash flow of the company. And also he gives useful information, for example, as cyclical patterns in the stock market. And he created one of the terms that is called 10 bagger, and basically what 10 bagger means is that you invest into a stock in that portfolio and it's supposed to give you around 10 times that what you started investing in that company. It is a really good book and I'm quite surprised that not a lot of people mention this book. Now let's go to the next book. Now the next book is by William J. O'Neill and that book is called How to Make Money in Stocks, a Winning System in Good Times and Bad. The book that I read was the 4th edition. Now this is probably one of my top 3 investing books when it comes to investing. And this book explains a lot of things that are basic knowledge, but the most important thing is that he gives a lot of stock charts as an example. He gives a lot of examples how to get great returns while reducing risk. And he mentions about living that mentality of getting rich quick in the stock market. And William J. O'Neill coined one of my favorite terms, which is can slim. And can slim refers for the following term: the C for current earnings, the A for annual earnings, the N for new product or service, the S for supply and demand, the L for leader and laggard, the I for institutional sponsorship, and the M for market direction. And when it comes to investing, this acronym is very important. I will probably make a video about this acronym in the future so you can get an idea why this is very important. And the last book in this list is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And the book is by Robert Kiyosaki. And what this book is about is mostly about finance. And this book mentions about a person having two dads, one that is rich and the other one that is poor. He gives a lot of examples on how the rich do certain things to become more wealthy, and he mentions about the poor and why they stay in that class. And he gives one of my favorite quotes throughout the book is that the poor and the middle class work for money and the rich have the money work for them. And he gives a lot of examples how you can acquire assets so you can become more wealthy. It is a good book and it explains a lot about personal finance. And even if you don't want to read this book, you can listen to this book as an audiobook. And remember, I left the links in the video description if you want to find the books on Amazon. And that is gonna be everything for the video. Please leave in the comment section below what is your favorite investing book. And for me, the book that I found the most interesting was The Intelligent Investor, even though that book is not really easy to read. And that is gonna be everything for the video. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the Financial Information channel. I'm gonna continue bringing videos about the stock market, personal finance, and how to make money online. I'm gonna thank you once again for watching the video. Have an excellent day and take care, my friends.